All right, welcome everybody. Oop, get my camera set up. Good enough. You know my camera woes here at Mom's. Anyway, welcome folks. How are we all doing? Let me get TikTok rolling as well. Live goal we've got. Okay, my computer was supposed to be muted. It's not. We will live with that. Go live. All right. All right. All right, TikTok is rolling. There we go. Mirror your video. Actually, I'm now already forgetting if I just did or didn't hit. Is that the right? I think that's the right one. I can never remember on TikTok. They'll tell me, they'll yell at me if it's the wrong thing. Anyway, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. We'll wait a second as always for folks to arrive. Hello, Brendy. Actually, they're the TikTokers. All right. Hey, Mike, Casso, Chelsea. Thank you for joining us, guys. User 336. Welcome, guys. Doing a quick little chapstick moment. So welcome, guys. We're going to talk about the election and Ukraine as we always do. I will sort of go through the latest news, and then we do Q&A and discussion and all of that. Thank you, John. Thank you, User 336. Sometimes I do grab your questions sort of while I'm presenting. I sort of try to go and grab the news I think is interesting, and then we sort of talk through it. We do questions afterwards, but sometimes I will grab questions sort of throughout as well. So feel free to throw them in, but I may not see them until we're done, until I'm done sort of presenting the updates. So excuse me. Luke, I'd have to check because I don't know who you are. Luke is asking if he can be a mod. The only thing is I tend to make people mods that I've sort of gotten to know over time that we know, or because otherwise we do. At the beginning of this, thank you, Jane. At the very beginning of doing this 2.5 years ago, I remember at least one like crazy person as a mod, possibly a Russian, because they started like banning everybody left and right. And we went, no. And I had to like unmod everybody and start from scratch because we couldn't tell who, but we had like one bad person. So now I've been very careful about who we pick. That's usually people I've gotten to know over time, like Ashley and Callum and the other folks like that. Thank you, Chazak, but I appreciate the offer. Thank you, Kim. Anyway, all right, welcome, guys. Heotan in Norway. We can get rolling. So, yeah, welcome. It's Friday night. I am John Aravosis, coming to you live from Chicago. Going to D.C. tomorrow for 4 days. Thank you, Kim. And then back in Washington, back in Chicago, I should say, where I'm right now. The way we're going to do this is I am not doing the show tomorrow for the paid subscribers because I'm literally flying in the morning, which I hate flying in the morning, but it was the cheapest flight, so that's what I'm doing. But I will be back Tuesday afternoon, which means probably not doing a show Monday night. I'm not going to bring my computer. I will bring my iPad, but probably no show Monday night. Thank you, Carol. And somebody gave subscription gifts. Who was that? I see many new subscription gifts on TikTok from somebody. Granville, Jack, Joey, and F. Turner. Welcome. Joe did it. Okay, thank you, Joe. And then Tuesday night. So Monday night probably because again I'm traveling. Monday night probably no show, but we'll see. Tuesday night, I'm going to do the show for the subscribers only. We're going to watch the debate, the vice presidential debate. Thank you, McFadge. Thank you, Pedro. Because I get back Tuesday afternoon, something like that. And usually when we do a debate watch anyway, I don't do a show that evening just because it's a lot of work to do a show for an hour and a half and then to watch the debate for 2 hours, is because we'll watch the debate for an hour and a half and then we'll talk about it after. So thank you, Tari. Anyway, just so you know, that's kind of what the plans are for the next few days. Popcorn Tuesday, exactly. It should be interesting. All right, let's get rolling then. All right, guys, let's start with U.S. election news as always, and then we will go and move on to Ukraine. Polling update from the Washington Post. Vice President Harris still leads by 2 points nationally, and her leads in the Midwest have stabilized, but the Sun Belt remains close. Donald Trump continues to lead in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. Harris leads in Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. These are all the key states. Thank you, Kronos. These are like the 7, we could call them battleground states. You can call them, I'm already forgetting. What's the other word? Swing states. But basically meaning these states that both sides need, states that can often kind of go back and forth, Republican or Democrat. So both sides know they can get them, and also both sides need them. They're states that matter. I've actually got, I pulled up the polls, these key states. What's interesting about them is it's still a tie, okay? Harris is up by a little less than 1 in Nevada. That's a tie. Trump is up by a little bit less than 1 in North Carolina. That's a tie. Georgia, Trump is up by 1. That's still a tie. Arizona, Trump is up by 2. That's still a tie. I say this because all of these polls typically have a margin of error of 2 or 3 percentage points, meaning that if the numbers are that you should look at the number, but assume that it's plus or minus 2, right? So if Trump is ahead by 2, statistically it's a tie. Michigan, Harris ahead by 2, again, tie, I would say. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Ava. Pennsylvania, Harris ahead by 3. That's better. Depends what the margin of error is. That's a little better. Wisconsin, Harris ahead by 3. That's a little better. Again, depends on the margin. But this election's close, guys. I mean, it's funny. Every day we look at the polls and there's some change. Thank you, Brandon, for subscribing. There's some changes, but it's very close. It's very close across the board. What else we got here? Trump met with Zelensky today, which was interesting. I was telling you guys this yesterday. Zelensky was in town, well, actually in the country for a number of things in the U.S. for the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York. He also was meeting with Biden in Washington, which made sense. Also wanted to meet with Trump. Trump initially said no, and then Trump changed his mind, which was interesting. As I was saying, we were trying to sort of figuring it out. Okay, my brother's here. He's saying goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah, anything else, we'll just text you or photo or ask you or whatever else. Yeah, we're still going through the house and dealing with all the estate craziness. So, yeah. So what was interesting about that is that Trump, my brother was here the whole time. It's always weird for me trying to do the show when family's here because I'm like, I don't like performing in front of my family. My mother would do this. Because my mother used to love to watch the show. So she'd call me afterwards. I did not like that you called Trump a pig. And I'm like, he is a pig. And then she hung up on me. I was like, Mom. But it was always weird having Mom watch because I was like, oh God, I've got to watch my language a little bit here because moms watch. I mean, I do watch my language generally. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Adventures with you guys. But occasionally I do like to use the F word when it's appropriate. And with Mom watching, it always was like, I can't use the F word. So anyway, but yeah, so very interesting that Trump agreed to meet with Zelensky. He didn't want to. My gut tells me he got worried and felt he had to, that it looked bad not meeting Zelensky. It is also possible, I would almost guarantee you, that Lindsey Graham, big supporter of Trump, big supporter of Ukraine, thank you, Elizabeth, for the gift, called Trump and said, you've got to meet him. This is too important of an issue. Thank you, Adventures, as well, for the gift. I'm not sure that's. Honestly, I think Trump, for some reason, and I'm fascinated by this. Thank you, Jeremy. I think the Trump people are a little bit worried about Ukraine. I think they're worried in part about post-election. Thank you, Tiger. Thank you, Lori. I think the Trump people are worried that Ukraine could become Biden's Afghanistan. Or Trump's Afghanistan, like how Biden, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, kind of blew up in his face, even though, mind you, it was Trump's withdrawal, but whatever. We can talk about that later. But in this case, Biden supports Ukraine. Trump does not. Biden wants to keep helping Ukraine fight Russia. Trump does not. Trump will end the war, and by ending the war, he will literally hand Ukraine over to Russia. That does not look good. That looks like America, A, losing a war, and B, America giving into a dictator. And I'm an enemy of the United States. Thank you, Lori, for the gift. Thank you, Martin, as well. So I wonder if that's not part of what's going on with Trump, is that his people said, you need to be careful with this. You can't be snubbing Zelensky because you are going to get blamed for doing this. You are going to get totally blamed for doing this. I see one of our communist friends is here today. Hi, Ronald. Sorry, this is a show for people who like America. This is a show for people who support the troops. It's a show for people who like to stand up to America's enemies and defend America's friends. I know for kind of the communist, far crazy extremist types like you guys on the right, don't really agree with that stuff. But this is a show for patriots. It's not really a show for people who support America's enemies. So just saying. The mods do get the clowns out of there very quickly, actually. Yes, they very much do. Violet. All right, a little bit more here. Trump lied about killing the border deal. This is fascinating too. I think Democrats have done a shitty job on this. Donald Trump killed a great deal to close down our border from illegal immigration earlier this year. It was January of this year. Basically, the Republicans appointed a very conservative senator, Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. Very, very right-wing, this guy. He proposes a deal. Democrats agree to the deal. It is a very right-wing deal on immigration, very harsh on immigration. But again, I support it actually because I'm not a big fan of illegal immigration, to be honest, as any of you guys watching know. And the Democrats agreed. I think because it's an election year, the Democrats thought there's no really, what do we do, right? What do you do, right? They've got to agree. So what happens? Oh, we've got another commie here. We've got all our little. This is our Greek communist friend today. No, okay, bye, Greek communist friend. That one's probably literally a Greek communist. In Greece, they're actually, in America, nobody's really a communist other than crazy people. In Greece, sadly, we got communists. So Trump, great border deal back in January. It's a Republican deal proposed by our conservative Republican senator. Democrats agree, support the deal. Trump kills it. Trump literally says, I need to run on immigration. How am I going to accuse Joe Biden of being bad on immigration if you fix the border? Thank you, Russell. So thank you, World is Meister as well. So Trump killed the deal. You can Google it. As I like to say, Google it. You will see lots of quotes from Republican senators. You'll see lots of interviews from Republican senators on camera talking about how angry they are that Donald Trump killed the bill for political reasons. Because he wanted people he wanted millions of people, which they have this year, cross our border illegally because it helps him attack Biden. Well, today Trump lied and said, no, I didn't kill the deal. It was a horrible deal. It needed to be killed. I didn't kill it. Senators, I didn't kill it. Interesting because he's afraid. I have been saying that Democrats should have been much louder about this deal to start with. Thank you, Grumpy. They should have been saying every day, right? Donald Trump took away a woman's right to choose, and Donald Trump is responsible for millions of people crossing our border. Every freaking day they should have been saying that. And by the way, it clearly freaked him out. Clearly freaked Trump out. The fact that he felt he had to come today and say, I didn't shut down the border deal. He killed the border deal. Everyone knows, as I said, Google it. All the Republican senators went public and they were pissed at Trump for doing it. Anyway, JD Vance. JD Vance is, where was this? Oh yeah, JD Vance is going to be in a town hall in Pennsylvania on Saturday with an evangelical religious leader, Lance Wallnau, who said after this month's presidential debate that Kamala Harris used witchcraft to win the debate. Interesting. Let's move on to Ukraine. It is day 946 of Putin's special 3-day military operation. As I said, Trump met with Zelensky today. Zelensky said, I think we have a common view that the war in Ukraine has to be stopped and Putin can't win. That surprised me. That surprised me a lot that Zelensky would say that Trump said Putin can't win. I would think Trump never criticizes Putin. Never. So very interesting if that's true, what Zelensky, I believe it's what Zelensky's saying, but I would imagine Trump going, I didn't say that because, Putin's his bread and butter. Trump then said, this was wild. After arriving together, Trump said, the fact that we're even together today is a very good sign. That again says to me, Trump thinks the Ukraine issue could blow up in his face. He thinks the Ukraine issue could be bad for him. And he's trying to make it look like he's not pro-Putin, that he actually is kind of in the middle. They must have some polling. There's something, but I'm very surprised. I'm just very surprised that Trump is worried about Ukraine. A little more here. So New York Times. So New York Times has a big article out about why it is that the U.S. is not permitting Ukraine to use our weapons to hit deep inside Russia. Remember, the Ukrainians have wanted to use our missiles to hit inside Russia. The Brits said they're fine with it, but they're deferring to the Americans. Biden said, no, we don't want to make Putin angry. Well, New York Times has an update. U.S. intelligence agencies believe that Russia is likely to retaliate with greater force against the United States and its coalition partners, possibly with lethal attacks, if they agree to give Ukrainians permission to employ U.S., British, and French-supplied long-range missiles for strikes deep inside Russia, U.S. officials say. The intelligence assessment, which has not been previously reported, also plays down the effect that long-range missiles will have on the course of the conflict because the Ukrainians currently have limited numbers of the weapons. Okay, that's kind of cute. I'm sorry, but okay, the Americans are saying, why the weapons aren't very helpful because we're not giving you many. Well, yeah, the weapons aren't as helpful because you're not providing enough of them. So you're saying more weapons won't be helpful? I mean, like, right? I mean, Biden's literally arguing here. His administration is arguing that the weapons won't help Ukraine anyway because we're not going to give them enough of them to make a difference. That doesn't mean the weapons aren't helpful. That means you're not helpful, right? Thank you, Norway Fox, for subscribing. I mean, right? Like, that's crazy. Anyway, let me go on here. The limited numbers, and it's unclear how many, British leaders have been less risk-averse. This is New York Times. They have voiced support for allowing the Ukrainians to use the long-range missiles that they have supplied for deep strikes inside Russia, but have been waiting for Biden to take a position on the matter. The intelligence assessment describes a range of possible Russian responses to a decision to allow long-range strikes, from stepped-up acts of arson and sabotage targeting military facilities in Europe to potentially lethal attacks on U.S. and European military bases. Okay, so here's the thing, and the article actually goes on. Biden just drives me crazy on this stuff. U.S. officials say the Russian military intelligence has been responsible for most of the acts of sabotage in Europe that have taken place thus far. They're talking about at military bases, among other places. If Mr. Putin decides to expand the shadowy campaign in response to the use of U.S. and European missiles deep inside Russia, U.S. officials fear he will attack U.S. and European facilities and bases. Okay, so Putin, this drives me insane. I'm going to try to explode. It's like exploding in my head right here. Thank you, Mr. Cap. So the U.S. is worried that Putin has been attacking our military bases in Europe, and we've been doing nothing about it, which is why Putin has been attacking our military bases in Europe, right? We've not been retaliating. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Mako. Thank you, Maddie. So the U.S. is worried that if we help Ukraine and let them use our missiles to attack deep inside Russia, thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Norway, that Russia will attack our military bases even more. And he's right. They will, because we've let Russia get away with committing acts of war against us for years now in Europe. I mean, do you understand how whipped we are by Putin, or Biden at least is? Thank you, Crazy American. Thank you, Michael. I mean, I kid you not, I hate to invoke Reagan, but when it comes to dealing with the Soviets and the Russians, Reagan knew how to do it. You don't sit there and go, well, I've been kind of a I almost used the P word. I've been kind of a wimp in dealing with Putin, and I've been letting him attack U.S. military bases, which is an act of war, and get away with it. And I'm afraid that if I give Ukraine permission to use these weapons inside Russia, Putin will attack me even harder because he knows he'll get it. Because, by the way, the end of the sentence Biden doesn't say, thank you, Cordy, is Putin will attack us even more. He may even do lethal attacks on our military bases, killing our troops, because he knows he can get away with it. The only reason Putin would attack U.S. military bases is because he already has, and he's gotten away with it. My God. Why do you vote for a weak Biden? Because I'd rather vote for a weak Biden than a traitor. Donald Trump's a traitor. He sides with the Russians. He doesn't side with America. He hates the troops. He called our troops suckers and losers for being killed in action and prisoners of war. He sides with Vladimir Putin. He sides with Kim in North Korea. He doesn't side with our allies. He wants to pull troops out of Korea, which is what the Russians want, what the Chinese want, because he's a traitor. He would have handed Ukraine to Russia 3 years ago. That's why I support a weak Biden. A weak Biden who at least is supporting Ukraine to a very good degree is better than a traitor. Seriously? I mean, my God. Again, I wish he wasn't weak on Russia. He is weak on Russia. But, I mean, in some ways, he's also stood up to Russia, but not enough. But Donald Trump literally works for Vladimir Putin. I mean, there's no comparison here, right? There's no comparison. My God. Anyway. All right. Let's move on. A Western official told Sky News, more people, you're back. Western official told Sky News that there was clear evidence that Chinese companies were supplying military attack drones to Russia. The allegation, if confirmed, would be the first known complete weapon system to be delivered to Russia from China for use in Ukraine. Such a development would be of huge concern to Kyiv and its backers and would further ratchet up tensions between Beijing and the West. Reuters reports that a Russian drone may have breached Romanian airspace again. And again, we let them get away with it because, we wouldn't want to make Russia angry. Viktor Orban's in trouble. So one of Viktor Orban's aides, I've been saying this for a while, by the way. The current leadership in Hungary, I think, was very happy with the Russians controlling Hungary and imposing a communist dictatorship on the country. I think they were very happy with it. And I've been saying that. Orban totally strikes me as happy with it. Well, one of Orban's officials came out today. Actually, let me step back a little, because some of you may not even know this. World War II, we've talked about this before. The Russians were allies with the Nazis. They signed a secret pact with Hitler. They signed a pact that a treaty that said, we will not attack you, Hitler. Go ahead and invade Europe. We won't touch you. Hitler was terrified of having to go to war against Russia because Russia's so big. And he was worried about starting World War II if he had to go to war against Russia too. The Russians said, nope, we're not going to war with you. Go have fun. There was a secret amendment to the treaty that no one knew about at the time. It didn't come out until like the Nuremberg trials. Yep, the treaty was called the Ribbentrop, or I think I called it Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is what I call it. That's funny. In Europe, they say Ribbentrop-Molotov. That's funny. In America, we'd say Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Thank you, Jorge. The treaty has a secret provision to it that basically agreed, the Nazis and the Russians, to cut Poland, and they would both invade Poland and cut it in half. This is 1939 or so, right? Sort of beginnings of World War II. They would both, and they did. They both invaded Poland, cut it in half. The Russians committed horrific war crimes. They attacked, they didn't attack, they murdered 22 Polish military officers. They literally marched them into the forest and killed them. 22,000, I may have said million, 22,000 military officers of the Poles, prisoners of war. They just decided to murder them because that's what Russia does, right? So they murdered them. Horrific stories, right? So then 2 years later, Hitler turns around and invades Russia. Oops. His friend, he stabbed a friend in the back. Oops. Who could have guessed that Hitler wasn't a trustworthy friend and ally? So the Russians are now at war with Hitler. And the Russians love to brag about how they were at war with Nazi Germany. They're at war with Nazi Germany because their friends and allies, the Nazis, attacked them. That's why Russia was at war with Nazi Germany. The war ends, and what do the Nazis do? Because they loved it. Not the Nazis. What do the Russians do? The Russians love to talk about, oh, we liberated Europe. We stopped the Nazis. We freed all of Europe. Well, the Russians then took half of Europe hostage. Literally. The Russians were like, oh, well, we're here anyway. Let's just take half of Germany, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Hungary, Poland. I'm trying to forget like the other ones. All these countries, they just took. And they said, okay, they're ours now. We're going to instill communist dictatorships in each of these. Horrific, brutal communist dictatorships in these countries. Horrific. Okay. Reign of terror for 45 freaking years. They did. They also took a bunch of other countries like the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and literally just ate them and said, okay, you're part of the Soviet Union now. You're part of our country now. Haha, sorry. Again, brutal. Okay. 2 different times there were uprisings against the Soviets because the Soviets now not only installed communist dictatorships in half of Europe, they controlled that they were puppets. They were all puppets for the Russians. Russia literally controlled all of these countries, okay? Well, 2 of the countries decided to act up. The Hungarians in 1956 and the Czechoslovakians. Back then, Czechoslovakia was one country. Now it's the Czech Republic and Slovakia. But it was Czechoslovakia in 1968. I always get those are the years. Well, the Russians, not very happy because it was like a pro-democracy uprising. Thank you, Elizabeth. The Russians stormed in with tanks and just killed everybody. Just like literally stormed in with tanks and just said, okay, we're killing you all. And that's what they did. Typically, Hungarians would not be in favor of that. As I've been saying for a while now, Viktor Orban's people, he's Hungary's current strongman prime minister. Thank you, Iggy. Thank you, Elizabeth. He is super pro-Putin, hates Ukraine, hates NATO, hates the European Union, and loves Putin. And he's even like a big guy. He literally looks like an Eastern European Soviet stooge. He looks like a Russian, like literally what they looked like in World War II. In post-World War II. So what happens? Orban's aide says today that the Hungarians shouldn't have resisted the Russians in 1956. That basically the lesson Orban, one of Orban's top aides, took from 1956, which is when the Hungarians rose up against literally a brutal Russian dictatorship imposed on them. And they tried to rise up for their own freedom and the Russians killed them. The lesson he took from that was it was bad. It's bad to stand up against the Russians. That's the lesson. Not fighting for freedom's good. Russians bad for killing you, but you were wrong to stand up to your evil Russian overlords, right? He said that's the same lesson he now has for Ukraine. he was asked about the war in Ukraine. He said, I'll read this to you. It basically said, yeah, the Ukrainians should have learned the lesson that we learned in Hungary, which is if the Russians invade, you just do what they want. You don't stand up. You don't try to stop them. No, Hungarians celebrate every year. They commemorate that the uprising against the Soviets, right? It was a big deal. It just really blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Let me read this to you. A top aide of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, this is from Reuters, has triggered outrage by suggesting that Hungary would have fared better by not resisting the 1956 Soviet invasion, and comments that were also critical of Ukraine's efforts today to push back Russian forces. Orban's political director, Balázs Orban, who's not related, said in an interview with the website Martiner this week that Zelensky has acted irresponsibly by choosing to resist Russia's invasion in February 2022, causing a war that has led to many deaths, right? Zelensky is responsible for all the deaths because he stopped the Russians from invading. Mind you, the Russians' goal in invading was to wipe Ukraine off the map. Russia's goal was to take all of Ukraine hostage and literally make it part of Russia. They were just going to absorb it as part of Russia. It was wrong for the Ukrainians to stand up to the Russians and say, please don't kill us and eliminate our country entirely and commit genocide on 43 million people. It was wrong. And his reasoning is because it was also wrong for Czechoslovakia, freedom fighters, to stand up against the Soviets. He says, considering 1956, we would have probably not done what President Zelensky did 2.5 years ago. First of all, he's also speaking on behalf of Hungary, saying if the Russians invaded Hungary, Orban's people wouldn't fight back. I mean, I'm sorry, the Hungarians, I really feel like, as we say in Greek against the Hungarians, that you voted for this guy like at least twice. I mean, I think he may have been there for 10 years now. Orban with these kind of people around him. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. So the Belarusians are threatening nuclear war now. Nobody cares, by the way, about Belarus. I mean, literally nobody cares. I mean, nobody cares when the Russians threaten nuclear war because they're lying and bluffing and they're weak. But the Belarusians are even weaker. Belarus is this little country next to Russia, run by a dictatorship. He's literally like Putin's little mini-me, Lukashenko. Horrible dictatorship. And he now is threatening nuclear war. He doesn't have nukes. He's threatening nuclear war if NATO invades his little itty-bitty country. Again, I love to quote Ayn Rand on these kind of things. There's a wonderful quote in maybe Fountainhead, I forget what it is. And Ayn Rand's lead characters, she always likes strong women characters. And this man who she's, has a bad relationship with or whatever, comes to her and says, God damn it, why won't you tell me what you think of me? And she responds, but I don't think of you. Which I just love that. That's kind of how people feel about Belarus. Like the idea that Belarus is going, if you invade us, we're going to use Russia's nukes against you. And everyone's like, Belarus? Belarus who? Like, invade you? I hardly know you. I mean, like, it's bizarre. In any case, Crimean Bridge. Russia's attempting to bolster defenses around the Crimean Bridge using underwater drone traps. This was reported by the Kyiv Independent. And that's actually it. Yeah, I do not have a ton of news today. That is it for the news. No, Ayn Rand, oh, Jim, you're going to leave. The only thing is I don't like, I think people that are assholes, I don't like. And Jim's an asshole. Feel free to disagree with folks and stuff, but don't be an asshole. Jim's an asshole. Don't be Jim. You're not coming back now. Bye-bye. Underwater drone traps. Yeah, I for the underwater drone traps would be for the sea drones. Remember the boat drones they have that go underwater? Thank you. Yeah, Chapara. Thank you for that. Please do, by the way, keep the gifts coming. If you think Jim's an asshole too, give me some Twitter gifts, some TikTok gifts. Israel and Lebanon, bad situation. What do you want me to say? Hezbollah keeps attacking Israel. Israel's going to blow them off the map, and Israel is blowing them off the map. So, but Hezbollah is also a terrorist group, so I have zero sympathy that a terrorist group in southern Lebanon that runs half of Lebanon is attacking Israel, and they're going to get hit back. And at some point, and I'm sorry, but people need to learn this. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Chazak. If you're going to start a fight with Israel, you're going to get bombed back. So, thank you, Yechaparo. Thank you, Jeddah. Same thing with America, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. Attack America, we're going to bomb you back. Thank you, Tech Sage. Thank you, Randy Fred. Oh, you've already got roof damage from the hurricane, Gunther? Wow. Wow. What else? Thank you, Luis, for the gift. I mean, Ayn Rand. I don't know if I'd like Ayn Rand today. Thank you, Hedge. But I several of her writings, her smaller essays about the Soviet Union were very good. I'd have to read them again now. A lot of her stuff might be a little too selfish for me right now, to be honest. But she was an interesting writer. And I think it's too easy for people to say, oh, she's horrible. She was an interesting writer. Former, escaped from the Soviet Union. Very interesting. So stoked about getting a new roof. Thank you, Randy. But with your home insurance, though, if you use it, doesn't it then send your premiums through the roof? No pun intended. Is Kamala Harris improving her economic message? I don't know. Is she? I mean, do you think she is? I don't know. Don't really know. I mean, I'm not, things are kind of hanging in there with her across the board. I mean, I feel like we said, the polls, well, I shouldn't say this. The polls, they're kind of tied. They're kind of deadlocked a little, but she seems to be, well, it depends actually. In these swing states that I was telling you about earlier, in the last 2 weeks, Harris is doing, okay, first of all, in the last 2 weeks, the polls have only changed 0.2 to 0.5% in the 7 most important states. 0.2 to 0.5, which is nothing, right? The error is 2 percentage, 3 percentage points, nothing. Nevada, Harris is doing a little better in the last 2 weeks. North Carolina, Trump is doing a little better. Georgia, Harris doing a little better. Arizona, Trump doing a little better. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Harris doing a little better. And Wisconsin, no change at all. Pretty much all the 7 key states, there's been no change in the last 2 weeks, really. Not sure what you mean, Sherpachi. Or you mean look into some of her positions and talk about them? And on Harris, you mean? Yeah, that's what I would have thought, Tarad. Like, I would have been worried about doing, excuse me. I would have been worried about, like, one of my windows broke. Or my tenants broke one of my windows. God, having tenants, I don't think I ever want to do it again. When I was living in New York for 2 years, working at the United Nations, and had tenants that caused so much damage in my apartment. I mean, so much damage. Like, I could just wring their necks. I mean, it still pisses me off, and it's been like 8 years. Still pisses me off. But one of the things they did is they cracked one of my windows. And of course, never noticed the big window was cracked. I mean, like in the living room, how do you not notice, right? They knew it. They didn't say it, which makes me think they did it. Because otherwise, if it literally appeared on its own, you would have phoned and said, oh my God, one of the windows cracked. like it literally, we noticed it in the morning. We wanted to call you because literally we didn't do it. They didn't say anything. They also got a key stuck in my door to my balcony. My balcony, it works with a key. The key stuck in the door. They didn't bother mentioning it. I asked the, management company to call them because they left. I got back to the apartment. I said, call them and ask them, what happened with the key in the door? Oh, they don't know anything about it. Like, the only way to get in and out of the balcony is with the key. They didn't know one of their keys got stuck in the lock. Just the biggest bunch of liars. But they cracked one of the windows, and I called my home insurance folks, and they said, yes, we would cover it, but your premiums will go up. It's not worth it. I took a lot of their deposit, but not much, because in DC, I couldn't take enough of their deposit either. Because in Washington, DC, you can't take a lot of their deposit, or they'll challenge you and they'll win. I can't even tell you the damage they did. They gouged my floors, but gouged my wooden floors. 3 feet gouges in my floor. I don't know what the hell they did. Horrific people, what these people did. But in any case, yeah, my home insurance said, you don't want us to fix your windows. Your insurance premiums will go through the roof. Maybe for your roof it's worth it, but then can you get other insurance? Work for the United Nations was horrific, Nina. Nina, it's kind of a joke here when people ask me to tell a story about working at the UN, because it was the worst experience of my entire life. I'm not going to go into the details. They are the most spoiled, the most corrupt people I've ever worked with. They don't care about helping people. I mean, I just can't. They're overpaid. They think they're underpaid. Oh, they work from, again, you're getting me rolling. They work from like 9:30 in the morning to 5 at night, and they think their workday is and they get an hour for lunch. They think their workday is too long. It's very hard. The work-life balance. The biggest complaint they had about work was their work-life balance. It's just this, it takes such a toll on their private life, working from 9:30 in the morning to 5 at night as a professional making $120,000 a year tax-free. These kids in their 20s and 30s making $120,000 tax-free for 9:30 in the morning to 5 at night, complaining it takes a toll out of my private life. And, oh, I'm sorry. And I should have said 6 weeks vacation, 12 days additional vacation days off, because this is European style, right? So 12 additional days of vacation and 6 weeks of official vacation. So 30 days of official vacation. And the work life, they had to give them an extra vacation day because they were complaining about how hard it was. I know, don't get me wound up. Horrific. Can the UN needs to be like literally, I just can't. I mean, I was going to make a comment about certain weapons we had in the 1980s in Europe that the Europeans got very upset about, and we ended up we ended up not stationing there. They kind of would get rid of people and leave buildings behind, but I won't make a joke like that. I will not. No, it's a horrifically corrupt organization. Honestly, I don't know what you do about it. Horrifically corrupt organization. They're horrible. I wouldn't give a dime to the United Nations. Not a dime. Horrifically corrupt. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know what purpose it serves, to be honest. Thank you, Alisoni. I mean, supposedly they do some work in some countries. I don't know. I mean, what I saw at their headquarters, UNICEF just as fucked up. I knew somebody very senior at UNICEF, and he told me, he was like, oh, he says, forget it. You kidding? He goes, you want to go to UNICEF? Because UNICEF is like the good people, children. Yeah, I was at UNDP, United Nations Development Program. Again, one of the good places. Corrupt as hell and lazy as hell. Just horrific place. Ocean, I'm not even going to go into it right now. Exactly. I'm not going to go into it. Just do not ever give anything associated with the United Nations a dime. Ever. Anyway. Yeah, horrific bosses. Everything about the whole place was just corrupt and evil. Just corrupt and evil. Actually, I will tell you one funny story because I thought about it today. Thank you, Tarad. I have asthma, and perfume sets off my asthma. I can't breathe. Thank you, Elizabeth. Everybody there, the women at because it's international, wear like as much, men and women both, enough perfume to kill you. I told my staff, there's like 9 or 10 staff, whatever, in the room. And I said, for you guys at least, I can't have you guys wear, because we're in a small area together. I said, and mind you, open, like we had cubicle. I had a fucking cubicle. It was ridiculous. And I was cubicle stuck with the staff. And I said, I can't have you guys wearing perfume because I have asthma and literally it makes me choke. I can't breathe. They complained about me. They got very upset. One of the things they told me was, we have French people on. First, I explained to them asthma. Okay. I'm like, I even showed, because I was like, they don't believe me. I said, I have asthma. Perfume makes me not be able to breathe. Please don't wear it. They objected. They continued to wear it. And I was told, we have 2 French people on staff. You can't tell a French person not to wear perfume. That's like telling her not to get dressed in the morning. I'm like, it's the year 2015. I can't breathe. And you're telling me it's the civil right of French people to wear perfume in the office? Guys, and then I had to go up the chain of command at the UN to prove that I had asthma, or they wouldn't recognize it as a medical ailment that they would help me figure out. I went up the chain of command. They refused to believe I have asthma. Guys, I've had asthma for 15 years. I've been getting allergy shots for 20 years because I have allergy-induced asthma. I had to get notes from both of my American doctors going, John has asthma. He's had asthma for 20 years. We've been treating him for 20 years. And perfume triggers his asthma. So the UN doctor said, fine, do a test that show us a test result of which perfumes you're allergic to. Thank you, Russell. The UN doctor, again, the most corrupt and inept people on the planet. So the UN doctor sends a note for me to give my doctor that says, please show us the tests that show which perfumes John is allergic to. My doctor responds and goes, it's an allergy. He has allergies and asthma. Every perfume affects him. It's not an allergy. The perfume is an allergy. It's an irritation. People with asthma can't be around scents. He goes, they can't be around ozone. They can't be around bad air. This is a common, I mean, he's like explaining, he even told me, he goes, the doctor at the UN doesn't understand what asthma is. He wants me to do a test telling him, well, you know, passion by so-and-so John can't be around, but you know, Chanel number 5 is okay. So I gave the note from my doctor. I was denied. They also wanted me to prove that I had gone to the hospital with my asthma because I take care of my asthma. I've never had to go to the hospital, to the emergency room. Because I've never been to the emergency room, they said I don't have asthma. And they would not, and literally no accommodation whatsoever. And because it's the United Nations, you can't really sue because they're not covered by American law. Now in Europe, I don't know if you can get away with this crap. In America, I would own your ass if you did this in a workplace in America. Literally, you would sue and you would own that freaking company if they tried this crap with you. You'd go before a jury. And so look at what they did. Look at the note they sent me. Look at the hurdles they made me go through because I said I have asthma and can't be around perfume. But to tell me I don't have asthma because I didn't do the test for which perfume you're allergic to, when every doctor on the planet knows those things don't exist. No, the UN is corrupt as hell. It is full of inept people. It is full of arrogant people, mean, backstabbing, bullying people, and people who are corrupt as hell. It is the worst organization on the planet. It is, honestly, it is, I will say this, it is the Republican stereotype, the right-wing stereotype of the United Nations is true. That's what's sad about it. They're a bunch of spoiled rich kids, except that they're not liberals. They're not left. They're not lefties. They couldn't care less. They just don't care. They're there to make money. They're there to make money because it's a cushy job. Thank you, Marcia. See, you got me talking about it. You got me talking about it. No, it just so upsets me. It's been 8 years and I still hate these people. Horrific people. 8 or 9 years. Thank you, Elizabeth. Anyway. Ugh. And by the way, they do this with sexual harassment. They had UN troops in Africa were raping children. Oops. The UN didn't do anything about it. Oops. They got caught. Oops. Yeah. Raping children, kind of a thing you might want to pay some attention to. UN troops were doing it, and the UN was like, oh, let's hide it. No, I always said the UN is basically take the world, put it into a blender, kind of mix it up, and take the median world, the average world work ethic. And I don't know what that would be, and I'm not going to guess which country, but imagine the entire world is mixed together, and we've got 180 countries maybe. Imagine it's the work ethic of the 90th country, like Turkey or something, right? So it's got the civil rights of Turkey. It's got the work ethic of Turkey. It's got the medicine of Turkey, right? I don't mean to knock Turkey, but I'm saying like this country kind of in that kind of a spot, right? Economically and also in terms of development for civil rights. They don't believe in human rights. They don't believe in civil rights. It's horrible. There's no work ethic. Ugh, anyway. But yeah, the peacekeepers were horrible. The UN peacekeepers were literally like sexually assaulting children. I mean, it's just like, man. Thank you, Tarad. Just very sad. Turkey. Yeah, I'm not there on Turkey yet, but yeah. Anyway. Ay. So tomorrow morning, yes, I fly back to DC for 4 days tomorrow. Just get some supplies, come back again. But at least it'll be a nice break from all the estate stuff. So that's good. We finished going through most of the stuff, which is we still have like the expensive stuff, mom's jewelry we got to deal with, but I'm putting that off. But at least we've gone through the house and have pretty much picked like within reason, what we want, which is good. So is that, well, I don't know, Shade. I thought it was Turkiya. Is the new spelling of Turkey still pronounced? I doubt it's still pronounced Turkey because one of the things they allegedly didn't like about it was it sounded like, or is spelled like the bird that Americans eat, a turkey we eat at Thanksgiving. So if they're still pronouncing it turkey, they're in the same problem. I will say this too. When Americans think of turkey the country, they don't actually think of turkey the bird. It's the same word, but literally it's not something like, we don't make jokes about turkey and turkey's the bird. It's not, there's no connection there in our heads, like logically. So it's kind of funny they didn't like it. Yes, we went through the books, have not gone through the board games yet. There are some board games right up there I'm going to go through, because you guys mentioned that. We are going to do that. We did just go through one more closet. The entryway closet had a bunch of not silver, but silver serving plates and stuff. The problem is they're too ornate. It's the old style big serving tray, but I don't know. I'm going to see if they're worth anything, of course, but yeah, I never think about the bird when the country's mentioned, Eileen. It just isn't even like a connection in your head, That's true. That's true. One of the watermelon actually, that is true. I think I will grab one of the watermelon glasses because it is a great glass. Yep. What is it? TikTok creators up and down the Florida coast. What are they doing, Magical? Are they broadcasting the hurricane or what? Yeah, we know that, Keps, on the jewelry. Yep. Although a lot of it, we're going to keep a lot of it in the family, of course, and we're just kind of figuring out how to value it so we can divvy it up fairly, Tap the files in case one is high-low. The files? What files? Oh, the tiles. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm hoping my parents didn't do something like that. People were telling us not horror stories, but stories of like relatives of theirs putting, like the grandfather hiding $10,000 behind the microwave and this kind of crazy stuff. You know what I mean? But hopefully my parents were not, my parents were young enough, so to speak. Their parents' generation would. My parents were not in the generation to really save a lot of money at home. And their jewelry and stuff, the expensive stuff they put in the safety deposit box. So like at the bank, they were pretty good about that, Oh man. Actually, I'm already remembering I should have gone to the safety deposit box. I'm already forgetting. Should have gone there to take some stuff home with me to DC. Oh well. I'll live. Anyway. Oh, did Biden say Ukraine needs to win? I don't know. He's occasionally said good things. He usually kind of holds off on that. Exactly. Recently settled my wife's grandma's estate and did find random bundles of cash in shoeboxes. See, that's the thing. Like my grandmother would have done that. My mom would not have done that. I think like at most we did find like $200 or $240 or something somewhere. We did find that, or $300. We did find that. Although no, the $300 was in the safety deposit box, which was funny because we were like, oh, thank you, Dark, for sending the subscription for Rogue. Like my parents put $300 in the safety deposit box and we were like, why? It didn't quite make sense. So there was something like bizarre like that, but money in the house, no. I think like we found a $50 bill, which is fine, but but not like huge amounts of cash, nothing like that. Actually, the funny thing is my sister has, I'd say kind of a similar, I want to talk tablecloths again, but kind of a similar tablecloth to my mom. And we realized she's got two of them now because I found one in the closet. Our relatives in Panama two different relatives in Panama bought her similar tablecloths. So we now have like more than our fair share of linen tablecloths now, which is kind of funny. But anyway, what do you do? Oh God, if your grandma had a safety deposit box, that's scary. Silver certificates, we used to have those. We got rid of them. I mean, we used to have, remember, we had those, not anymore. We used to have, that's kind of funny you said that. I'm pretty sure they weren't, but you're scaring me now. Because we looked at it and it looked like regular money. And also the bank teller even looked, because they were kind of stuck together and we were pulling them apart. And I said, can you give me some new ones? And he looked at them in the light. We would have seen silver certificate on there. You're scaring me by saying that though. Thank you, Robert. Because I remember seeing silver certificates years ago. Boxes in the freezer. Some people did that too. That's funny. It's possible. I just don't. We're gonna look around it. Yeah, I've already checked the unclaimed money site. We'll check again. We check every few years. I got like $50 or something once, I remember. But oh, excuse me. Okay, you on it, you guys again. Thank you, Ernie. But anyway, yeah. So tonight, I mean, I'm very packed, but I've got to finish packing and then weigh my suitcases. Thank you, Ernie. I guess my relatives like living in Panama. I mean, they Greeks who moved there, like my mom, when my mom moved to the US in the 30s, those Greeks might have moved to Panama in the 50s or something. And Panama, super tax haven. Like the first 10 years, your business was tax free or something back then. I don't know if it still is. So they set up a big shrimping business and everything else. And and then other relatives moved to Brazil and did something with forestry, I guess, at the time. Now, God only, I don't even know what they do now. But they used to, my God, they used to come visit us and they would bring us the biggest freaking shrimp you've ever seen in your life. I can't even, I mean, they were insane, the size of these shrimp, and they were amazing. Oh my God. And my aunt would bring them in her luggage. Thank you, Randy and Fred. It was great. Oh my God. Just amazing. I haven't been to Panama in 40 years, so God only knows what it's like now. Oh, interesting. Panama's a good place to retire? I don't know. That's interesting. Did not know that. Oh boy. Excuse me. Oh, all right, WC. We'll see you. You found a floor safe under your stairs 9 years after moving in. That's funny, but it's of course sealed. You'd have to get it opened up. That's funny though. Wow. Or somebody opened it, took their stuff out when they moved. It was too heavy and they left it. It was rusted. Huh. That's interesting. That is interesting though. What else, guys? Oh. La la la. Oh. So Austin is talking to Wolf about, talking with Wolf Blitzer about not using American weapons deeper in Russia or deeper in, Sasha's good. She is asleep in the little bed under my table. I'm gonna drop her at my sister's tomorrow because Kathy's gonna take care of her while I'm gone for 4 days. So that'll be nice. Concrete floor. That's funny. I know. I saw that Maggie Smith passed away today. Yeah. Great actress. Oh my God. She was so amazing. I mean, I loved her. Again, I liked her before, but she was great in Harry Potter and Downton Abbey. And Downton Abbey too. Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. So very sad. $80 in quarters. That's funny. Hook? I didn't see Hook. She was in Hook? That's funny. I don't know how the debates are going to go. I mean, J.D. Vance is another pathological liar like Trump. I mean, J.D. Vance, forget it, right? I mean, he's a total. I mean, J.D. Vance was the biggest anti-Trumper and then 2 years later decides he wants to be a Republican and run for Senate. So he'll just lie and stuff. J.D. Vance's problem is he's not very likable. He's very uncomfortable. People make fun of him for being like a robot. He went into a donut shop, he's flustered, but he's flustered in a weird way. Like he went into a donut shop and they're like filming and he's ordering donuts, but it's a campaign stop, right? And the one behind the counter goes, "I don't want you filming me." Thank you, Craig. And probably because A, it's weird being filmed, and B, it's like JD freaking Vance. You don't want to be filmed for Donald Trump. And he goes, "Oh, you don't want us filming you." He would just read, "You don't want us filming you." Oh, well, then don't film her. We'll cut her out. First of all, you don't say we'll cut you out. You say, guys, kill the cameras. The woman doesn't want to be filmed, right? I just want to order donuts, right? You wouldn't say we'll cut you out later because then you're filmed. First of all, you're still filming her, right? She says, "Don't film me." "Don't worry, we'll cut you out." So you're literally going to keep filming her. That was the first problem. It's like totally weird. Then she's like, "Okay, it's a donut shop. What do you want?" "Well, I don't know. the sprinkles, and he's like listing kinds of donuts. He's like sprinkles, chocolate. What's popular? What do people get? And it was just sort of weird because it was also like, as people were writing their own captions like, what do human beings normally eat in a donut shop? He's very uncomfortable. Tim Walz is very likable. So in that regard, let's see. Tim Walz does speak very well. JD Vance, though, he lies well and he's kind of vicious. So let's see. I don't know. I think, I'm prepared for a tie, to be honest. I'm prepared for a tie. But we'll see. Croissant aux amandes, or croissant au chocolat aux amandes, which I learned was a thing. Chocolate croissants with almonds. I was in a bakery once, and no, I was at a picnic with friends in Paris, and French friends, and they had croissant aux amandes, which is like a almond croissant, but it's basically like a croissant filled with almonds and almond paste. Very good. It was, and I was surprised. I usually get chocolate, but I was like, this is very good. And I said, the only thing that would be better than this would be a croissant with almonds and chocolate. And they said, oh, they've got those. I said, get out of here. So then I went to our corner bakery and found it. Oh my God. Like a little bit warm. So you get this like warm chocolate paste with almonds and almond paste and a rich croissant and sugar. Oh my God. To die for. Absolutely to die for. So I don't know if you've ever had that one, Gunther. It was amazing. And they're kind of big too. They're like this big. Oh. Your local bakery has those? Oh, in Nebraska. Didn't you say you're in Nebraska? Damn, that's nice. I don't normally remember where people are, but I thought you said that. Yep. Wow. I've eaten a lot over the years. I would buy one for myself, and usually I would have half at a time. Oh my God, so good though. French bakery in Nebraska. That's good. Good for you. Yeah, that's my favorite. Really good. Anyway. Anything else, guys? I'm not going to go too long tonight. Like I said, I packed, but I'm not totally done packing. And the flights are like, I have to leave at 9 a.m., which I'm not thrilled. I normally like to do a later flight because then I can get up and have several hours, like maybe leave for the airport at noon. So I could sort of have several hours in the morning just to, check the bag. I don't want to check the bag at 8 a.m. because I feel like I'm going to be like, so we'll see. But I've got it pretty much done, but now I've got to see how heavy it is because I decided to put a bunch of the inheritance stuff, nothing expensive, but a bunch of the inheritance stuff in there. So we shall see. Anyway, no word on the tablecloth. Actually, I did write the Irish. I wrote them about Mom's tablecloth, the mill in Ireland that some of the Irish folks thought might have made it. Just to ask them, I said, just curious if you some people thought it might have been made in your mill, and I just kind of curious. We're just curious where it's from, So, no, that was it. Checking a bag. Yes, I'm going to check a bag, and then I've got to carry on because Mom's demi-tasse, her Greek demi-tasse glasses are in my carry-on, and less fragile stuff is in my suitcase. I don't remember what, but I put a number of less. Like my grandfather had a really nice a knife. My nephew called it a steel, I believe. Like it looks like a sword, but it's not. It's a pole that's not sharp at the end, and you use it for sharpening knives. It's metal. And my grandfather had a really nice old one that was his, though. And my mom told me, she goes, "Oh, that was Papu's. That was Grandpa's," which is really neat. I do have pre-check. Yep. So, I've got that in my suitcase because that's a very cool thing. And I forget what else. My mom's spatula, some of her baking trays and stuff just because, like, I always wanted one of the ones that's like this long for making bread and or some cakes and things. It's kind of not the regular cake one. It's like this one that's skinnier and longer. They're not expensive, but they're Mom's. And I was like, oh, I've wanted one of those. So why not? But I can't remember what else most of the stuff I'm going to have to ship with UPS. I'm taking her fine china. That's got to be UPS. And I'm just kind of a little nervous about it, but I'm thinking they know what they're doing. But it's worth it because it's nice and it's Mom's. I'm just afraid of it. Like, I'm going to have to get it insured. So we'll see. Hopefully they don't break it on me, but we shall see. Anyway, Thank you, Randy Fred, for the gifts. Savory croissants are okay. I'm more of a sweet guy, though. I definitely like my desserts more than I have half a chocolate chip cookie from Costco in the fridge that I'm going to have later. I like my sweets. And actually, I do have a little chocolate fudge brownie I might have with it, though usually chocolate fudge brownie from Ben & Jerry's is its own dessert on its own, but we shall see. Thank you, Ann Blazing. All right, thanks, Adventures. Yeah, I'm going to get going, guys. So I will be back at the latest Tuesday night. We will hold a special show, Thank You Life, for just the paid subscribers. As a thank you, because I've got to do special shows for you guys. Otherwise, there's no point in. I mean, you can subscribe to help me, but I'm trying to give you some stuff in return. Oh, interesting. Wow, boxes and dishes. That's wild. Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to go to UPS, and they're good here. They know what they're doing, and say, please don't kill my mom's dishes. But anyway, tomorrow morning we're not doing our show because it's Saturday and I'm flying. Monday I might not do the show. We'll see. And then Tuesday night we'll do one as well, like I said, for the paid. Thank you, Rock Hunter. Wrap the China you're shipping yourself. I'm a little afraid, Esty. I'm just too afraid to do that. I really feel like I'd rather give our UPS people in town here are very good at small town. They're nice. They're helpful. I'm happy to pay them if I have to. I have to, of course. But even if I got to pay $60 or whatever for them to pack it, they will do a nice job. They'll do like a box within a box, or I've had them do multiple boxes in a box before. You know what I mean? I just got to figure out exactly. Our local UPS store is wonderful. And I've got a lot of stuff I'm bringing anyway. I've got 3 paintings. So I'm going to bring stuff and let them figure out like what they can consolidate, and we'll see. We'll see. Oh my God, one of the blankets, my grandma's blankets. So all sorts of stuff I've got to figure out. I mean, that's for later, for me to figure out. So we'll see. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you, Chuck, for saying that on TikTok. That was sweet of you. Thank you, user 336. So yeah, guys, I'm going to sign off. Like I said, I will go and I may even finish putting some stuff in my suitcase and see what it feels like. And then at the worst, I'll be back Tuesday night for subscribers, Wednesday night for everybody. Maybe Monday I'll check in, but I'm not bringing my laptop with me. I'm going to leave my laptop here. So we'll see about that. All right. Thank you, Diana. Appreciate the gift too. All right, guys. Yeah, the blankets are fine. They may just be too heavy to put in the suitcase right now. And I'm using it because the room gets a little cold at night. I like it cold at night, but I'm currently using the blanket, so I'm not entirely sure I want to like pack the blanket up and take it to DC. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you for joining us, as always. All right, see you guys. And you all as well.